The Senate will come to order. Senator Westland.
Thank you, Mr. President. I impose a call of the Senate.
The Senate is now under call.
Mr. President, I move that further proceedings under the roll call be dispensed with and that the Sergeant at Arms be instructed to bring in the absent members.
On that motion, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Members, if you be so kind as to stand. In our Senate tradition, we always start with prayer. Today's chaplain is none other than Pastor Joseph Webb IV. He's from the Wade Church in St. Paul. As a gentle reminder, following the prayer, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heads are bowed, eyes are closed. Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for these offices that you have granted us, God. We thank you for your resources. God, what I ask today is that you be with us in this time. Give us clarity, wisdom, and understanding, only for unity, and let all of the tenets of hate and division abandon us as we work together, because humanity is such an amazing thing. We're together, even in our differences. Be with us in this time. Amen.
Thank you, members. The secretary will take the roll.
Abler, Anderson, Barr, Bolden, Carlson, Champion, Clark, Coleman, Swadzinski, Dames, Dibble, Dornick, Draheim, Drazkowski, Duckworth, Farnsworth, Fateh, Frentz, Green, Grunhagen, Gustafson, Hoschild, Herr, Heinzman, Hoffman, Housley, Howe, Jasinski, Johnson, Johnson Stewart, Klein, Coran, Kroon, Kunish, Kupek, Lang, Latz, Liskey, Limmer, Lucero, Mann, Marty, Matthews, Mayquade, McEwen, Miller, Mitchell, Mohammed, Murphy, Nelson, Umu Verbatim, Pappas, Pa, Port, Pratt, Putnam, Rarick, Rasmussen, Rest, Seeberger, Utke, Weber, Wiesenberg, Westland, Westrom, Wickland, Zhang.
Members, a quorum is present. The following members intend to vote from a remote location under Rule 40.7. Senators Barr, Coleman, Dames, Draheim, Lang, Liskey, Miller, and Weber. Members, if you would like to follow along, I'm reading from today's Senate agenda dated Friday, May 9th, 2025. And we will begin at the fifth order of business, reports of committees.
Mr. President.
Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to Rule 21, I object to the reference of Senate File number 2374.
Members, that particular Rule 21 will send that particular bill to the Rules Committee. I now will recognize Senator Murphy for a motion to adopt the other committee reports.
Mr. President, I move the committee reports printed in the agenda be adopted.
On that motion, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Members, we will now proceed to the seventh order of business, which is second reading of House bills. The secretary will read the House file number.
House file number 1090.
The House file has been given its second reading. Members, moving to the eighth order of business, which is introduction and first reading of Senate bills. The bills listed on today's introduction calendar are given their first reading and referred as indicated. Moving to the ninth order of business, members, that is motions and resolutions. We will adopt the author's motion as one motion. All in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Members, remaining under motions and resolutions, I am now calling and recognizing Senator Murphy to designate special orders. Senator Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to Rule 26, I designate the following bills be made special orders for immediate consideration. Members, the list is on your desk.
Members, that is correct. The list is on your desk entitled Special Orders, dated May 9th, 2025. We will go to House File number 2442. Senator Frentz, Omnibus Bill for Energy.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, members. Proud to present to you the Energy Omnibus Bill, House File 2442. First of all, I would like to take a moment to thank a number of people who helped the Energy Committee this year and helped bring this bill together. First of all, to the members, to Senator Matthews, the ranking member, to Senator Zhang, the vice chair, to Senator Dibble, Senator Green, Senator Weber, Senator Hoffman, Senator Klein, Senator McEwen, Senator Gruenhagen, and Senator Rarick. Every member of the Energy Committee contributed. The result that came out of that committee was a bipartisan vote on 9-2 on a number of provisions. Before I talk about that bill and where we are today, I want to also thank the staff. That includes Tyler Klein, the committee administrator, Travis Ernest, the CLA, caucus researchers Cassie Tomerdahl, and the GOP staff researcher Greg Exley. Also want to thank Matthew Noonan, the legislative assistant for Senator Matthews. We have outstanding nonpartisan staff, including Council Olivia Severson and our fiscal representative, Dan Mueller. And I would be remiss not to mention our outstanding pages for the Energy Committee, including Olivia Mackel-Wiederanders, Michael Edwards, and Senye Aminti. Thank you to everybody, Mr. President, who worked on the bill. Members, I mentioned this bill came out of the Senate Energy Committee with a strong 9-2 bipartisan vote. However, to get it to the Finance Committee, I was asked to make certain choices. The choice I made, Mr. President, was to remove some provisions in an effort to keep the budget and policy together. I did that. It was difficult, and I'm bringing this bill to the chamber asking for bipartisan support for what the bill is now. First of all, the budget. Members, this is a basic cut target. We had to cut $4 million from the energy biennium budget. We did that by reducing the amount of money on weatherization. Mr. President, that weatherization money helps low-income Minnesotans prepare for lowering electric bills. That cut hurts, but the choice is better there. We funded the governor's recommendation for operating increase for the Department of Commerce and the Public Utilities Commission, including the information technology requests. We were presented also as a part of the compromise. I agreed not to support amendments to this bill. I'm hoping that members of this chamber will listen carefully to the amendments proposed, and while I may not be able to vote for them, Mr. President, they are meritorious and worthy of consideration. Some are not ready for prime time. Some were made part of the consideration. In the fiscal, also, we have renewable development account proposals. Remember, this is money that is taken for clean energy projects from Xcel ratepayers' contributions on behalf of the nuclear waste storage. Included Senator Putnam's green hydrogen project in St. Cloud, Senator Zhang's project for the microgrid research at the University of St. Thomas, Senator Umu Verbaten's project at the Como Zoo, that is the Big Cat geothermal project. Also, the anaerobic digester supported by Senator Zhang, and the money for Energy Alley, also Senator Zhang's provision. Energy Alley funds our clean energy businesses. This is something that costs money and pays many times more than that, and I ask for members to support the RDA provisions. We also funded an increase in the Petro Fund. For those that follow this kind of thing, that's the fund that helps us clean up and remediate soil from toxic chemicals. The policy in the bill includes a sunsetting of Minnesota's Community Solar Garden program. Much has been said about this program. It was intended to introduce the solar marketplace to Minnesota and to increase solar energy production. At that, members, it has been a success. However, the fixed price associated with that means that it is no longer cost effective. That's good news because of the advancements that the solar marketplace have made, including the cost of wholesale solar, which is now far lower. For that reason, the bill proposes to sunset the Community Solar Garden program in 2030. That provision received bipartisan support in the Energy Committee. We have had commentary on the Senate Energy Bill, and I'd ask members to consider the two basic goals. One, to lower people's energy bills. Two, to continue our progress towards 100% clean energy by 2040. A representative of the Minnesota Rural Electric Association was quoted recently as saying, "We can buy twice as much carbon reduction for the same price." Why would Minnesotans not want to take that deal? Those are bipartisan goals, clean energy and low cost. And just yesterday it was published that a solar developer said the Senate wants a smart, cost-effective electric grid. That's what I'm asking for all of you. Mr. President, I appreciate the work of those that I've mentioned. The budget portion of the bill is reasonable and tailored to our current budget situation. The policy has been agreed to. I present this bill asking for a bipartisan support and look forward for questions and amendments. Thank you.
Senator Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to echo Senator Frentz's thanks to our staff that have worked with us on this bill. Particularly, I want to echo thanks to my legislative assistant, Matthew Noonan, Greg Exley, our caucus researcher, as well as Bryce Hinkst, who was our researcher for a time at the beginning of session and did help start with some of these projects before Mr. Exley took over. And we have incredible staff that help do the work that we do around here in committee. Mr. President, the comments that I want to make on this bill is that for most of the session, there was talk about wanting to have bipartisan energy bill. This talk of bipartisanship was a theme throughout most of the committee. Senator Frentz emphasized it to me multiple times in committee and in private discussions that he was working to get a good bipartisan position to come out of the Senate, particularly with us having to negotiate in a future conference committee against the other body that is equally divided at this time. And for a time, there was some bipartisan movement that was in committee. Obviously, the power sharing agreement portion allowed us to get some good GOP priority bills to get hearings and to start some important conversation on just what the effects have been and some of the limitations that are coming to our energy providers and the impact on customers for what has happened for the last 2 years under the trifecta that has only made energy more expensive and less reliable moving forward. And so we were looking for bipartisan ways to try to help alleviate some of the concerns that have been raised. And as it left the Energy Committee, we had a pretty decent bipartisan product. As Senator Frentz noted, got an overwhelming bipartisan vote to come out of committee. And then, unfortunately, the bill got sat on. And while we came here for day after day and week after week on the floor to do all the other budget bills that were making their way through the process, this energy bill apparently got frozen behind the scenes. And word started coming out that the good, strong position that we had made in committee was at risk. And so, unfortunately, we found out shortly before the Finance Committee meeting yesterday that the new compromise, quote unquote, is basically stripping out all of the bipartisan provision, most of the bipartisan provisions, and watering down the one remaining one that stays in this bill. And it's unfortunate that we're here once again, basically our third year of the Democrats running the committee here, where the talk does not match the walk, where we have all this discussion about how we want to work together and hear your ideas, and both sides need to bring their priorities forward and get them discussed, and we get them into bills, and then they just conveniently fall to the wayside once again, and the walk does not match the talk. The final comment I'm going to make before I offer my first amendment, Mr. President, is that it's a good thing that the committee got a negative target here to help deal with the impending budget deficit that Minnesota is facing at a biennium down the road. My challenge with how the majority decided to meet that target is by not asking any government agency, not the Department of Commerce or the Public Utilities Commission or anyone, to do anything to tighten their belt. They got everything that they wanted for, that the governor requested, including money for some new staff that is in the bill. And meanwhile, the cuts that were made were to the weatherization projects that help some of our most vulnerable Minnesotans. And it just is amazing to me that even when we are facing deficit, The majority still does not want any government entity or any government employee to have to share in the belt tightening that all of Minnesotans are going to have to do. And that is one of my biggest concerns with how the money got allocated. In the finance part of this bill, there's nothing that's too, it's basically lukewarm in my opinion. There's nothing that's too terrible in there. There's nothing that's too great to get excited over. So it's basically your basic bill, but it's amazing to me that the cuts and reductions go to everyday Minnesotans out in the street instead of not a single one of our government agencies or entities. The other amazing thing that came out from a committee meeting early on was the Department of Commerce publicly testifying in the Energy Committee that they needed, I believe it was a $3 million increase in their base funding in order to continue to administer their programs in a fraud-free manner. And that just struck me as ironic of how they were going to take an additional $3 million in order to keep doing that same work. In the back of my mind, I couldn't help but think that, boy, that would mean a $2.5 million fraudster would be cheaper than the request that the department is asking for. I think that while Commerce has not been dealing with any of the fraud scandals that have been gaining notoriety the last few years, I think they need to remain vigilant and they need to work at keeping their budget under control. And it was difficult to see even they just get the increase that they're asking for without any reductions compared to what Minnesotans are being asked to bear. So with that, on the comments to the bill, Mr. President, I am going to first offer the A15 amendment.
Senator Matthews offered the A15 amendment. The Secretary will report the A15 amendment.
Senator Matthews moves to amend House File Number 2442, the unofficial engrossment, as follows. Page 9, delete Article 3 and insert.
Senator Matthews to your A15.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I will request a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. President. The A15 amendment is a large portion of most of what was in the energy policy article of the bill as it left the Energy Committee. Members, if you want to vote for a bipartisan energy bill, then this is the bill to vote for. This is the amendment to vote for to make sure that our final bill reflects the bipartisan work that the Energy Committee has been doing. It includes the net metering portion that we worked on, that both sides were working on, Senator Frentz and Senator Rarick coming to compromises and agreements on in the bill. This includes the B100 piece that Senator Weber and Senator Frentz were working on together. This includes the repealing of the hydro cap that is needed, that we worked on and got included in the bill at the end of our committee time. This eliminates a couple of pieces that were in what's not in here that was in the bill when it left committee. Is it does not have any of the data center piece, since that is all hopefully traveling in a separate vehicle bill. And we did not have the RDA repeal that was in here because of with regard to targets. It was going to put some pressure on what the overall target would be. But it has the net metering proposal as was worked on and agreed to in the committee without a couple of the other amendments that were there. But by and large, members, this is the bipartisan bill. This was the bill that got the 9-2 vote to come out of committee, and this is the bill that could pass today with overwhelming bipartisan support. And so I would urge members to consider working with both sides, passing the proposals that the committee worked on together, and I would urge members to support this amendment.
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Matthews. As you know, many of the things in the A15 amendment are things that I voted for in committee. Members, when we make agreements, we should stick to them. I made an agreement when I agreed to combine policy and budget in this bill and bring it to the floor. Had I brought it to the floor with budget only, we'd be looking at no policy this session. I think the policy in the bill now we can get. If this amendment goes on, we can't get it. Members, I'm asking for a no vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, the long history in Minnesota when it comes to energy bills is that they would be bipartisan as they move forward because the policy is so critical as to how we will deal with that here in Minnesota. And that all changed in the 23 and 24 sessions where our energy bills passed with one party voting unanimously for, one party voting unanimously against. And if we do not take this amendment that came out of committee with a 9-2 vote, looks like the Senate will be following that same path once again. Members, this amendment, if Senator Matthews were in charge or if I were in charge, this isn't what the language would be. It would be a compromise position between both parties, people working to say, what is the energy future for Minnesota that everyone can get behind? The bill we see in front of us is not that. This amendment returns it to that position. Mr. President, members, vote yes for this amendment, and let's move forward with the bill that had that 9-2 support coming out of committee.
Senator Klein.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Frentz and Lead Matthews for the bill. And these are provisions, in particular the net metering provisions that I supported in committee and continue to feel are valuable for ratepayers in my district. I am going to follow the lead of the author on this. We need an energy bill this year. Some of these things are very valuable. They need to occur. We need to work on them and get them across the line. But I will be a no vote on the amendment on the floor today in the interest of moving this bill forward and resolving a responsible energy budget for the people of Minnesota.
Senator Gruenhagen.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I'd first say that I appreciated the leadership of Chair Frentz in the Energy Committee. He allowed good discussion from different perspectives, and I appreciate that. The other thing, I would rise and support this amendment. It was bipartisan coming out of committee. But members, one of the things to understand, and we had testimony, I can't remember if it was from the PUC or which agency it was from, but they stated that 36% of Minnesotans can't pay or are struggling to pay their energy bills right now. Members, 36%. If you go down this Green New Deal without any alternative base loads, you are simply, we're 14% from 50% of the people in the state of Minnesota not being able to pay their electric bills. And of course, the argument was, well, we need to give them tax subsidies to help them pay their energy bills. Members, that's what we did with Obamacare. This is Obamacare of electricity. If you like your health insurance premiums, you're going to love these electricity rates if we keep going down this path. We had good reforms. I didn't like everything in the bill, but it was a compromise bill. And that's what Senator Matthews' amendment does. Think of the last few days. We had some bipartisan bills passed. Whether you voted yes or no, it was the way this body should work. Here we have a chance to do the same thing and also to give some relief to Minnesotans in a way that brings their energy costs down. Members, just to illustrate that, if you go to MISO, which is the district we're in from Michigan to Minnesota, right now today, coal is giving about 30% of our electricity. Natural gas is giving about 27%. Nuclear about 13%. Wind is giving 5.5%, okay? And Solar, and it's been sunny for a lot, is giving about 15.5%. Imports 6 and on. So the point is you cannot sustain base load electricity with Green New Deal only. So please vote for this amendment. Let's do this on a bipartisan basis and give some relief to our ratepayers, especially those people who are struggling to pay their electric bills. So please vote green. Thank you, Mr. President.
Members, just a gentle reminder, the members must speak only to the question under debate. Senator Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I want to begin by thanking this body for endeavoring to work across differences, across regions, across caucuses, to bring the best of the work that we're capable of bringing to the debate and for the future of Minnesota. I have seen many members choosing that path, frustrating one another at times, but reaching conclusions. I am incredibly grateful for that. This is maybe one of the most difficult sessions I have been a part of. And in this chamber, we have continued to find one another and to bring solutions that can earn the support of the members of both caucuses when we can. Senator Frentz and the Energy Committee put a bill together that, if we listen to Minnesotans, still has work to do in the policy area. And that is, for me, a guiding light, the people of Minnesota. There are people who are urging passage of items that are in this amendment, and there are people who are urging opposition. It is important policy and important that we get it right. And I have witnessed over my years, over and over again, that when we try and push something through that is not ripe and not ready, we make mistakes. And we shouldn't be making mistakes on something as fundamental for people is their energy, their source of energy, the cost of energy, where it's generated, how it's generated, and what it means to the climate and to Minnesota. So I respectfully and with deep commitment ask that we not add this amendment to a budget bill. I will remind us that we are about 10 days away from the end of this session, and our top priority is to put a budget in place, and this body has committed to that work. All of us. We have done the work. We have a body in a tie across the way. I'm not going to talk about them, but they are struggling. We are leading. Let us prioritize our budget. This is a budget bill. I'm going to ask that we vote with the author, with Senator Frentz, so that we can get this budget bill into conference and get the work that we have to do for the people of Minnesota per the Constitution done. Thank you.
Last voice we'll hear is that of Senator Matthews before we vote. Senator Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the discussion, and Mr. President and members, I would suggest that if the majority leader did believe what she's asking the body to do, then we would be adopting this amendment, because this is the good, thoughtful work that has been going on for the whole year. And it's funny, Mr. President, that phrase wasn't being used for the last few years. She's absolutely right in saying that when we just rush through policies, we make mistakes. And boy, is she correct about that, but not for the target of the bill that she believes she's focused on. And members, we were working together in good, collaborative, thoughtful process on these policies that had good discussion and that had Minnesotans coming and telling us that we need these elements that are all in the bill. So unfortunately, what Minnesota is about to see is members who are going to vote against provisions that they actually support. This is the bill, this is the energy bill, and it's actually incorrect that this bill would keep the bill from passing, because this would still allow us to pass the energy budget bill with a larger margin then we're going to anyways. This will give you a strong bipartisan vote coming off the Senate floor of the energy bill to go into conference and do that. Unfortunately, we're seeing what the agreements are that the chair is talking about. The agreements were not made with half the Senate that's in here. The agreements appear to have come from leadership. And it's an unfortunate day when it appears that a minority is controlling the majority here on the Senate floor, because this is the work of what the bipartisan bill could be reflecting. Mr. President, in prior years, we had work that was done through committee and on the floor, and then it's when you get to conference committee that you have to work through things, and sometimes things that you've really fought for end up falling off. It's a bit of an amazement to me that we're seeing these things fall off even before we get off of our own Senate floor with this bill. Members, there are good policies in here again. There are the net metering reforms that we need to help lower the costs to our consumers all over the state of Minnesota, particularly rural Minnesota. They came and urged us, we need these pieces adopted. We worked out the grandfathering clause that was in there that was making some heartburn with the current subscribers on the program. I thought we had a really good product at the end result when we came to this. We came to agreements on the B100 piece that was in there, the wood energy parts, all of these good provisions that were in here. We're giving you an opportunity to choose bipartisanship over just another hyper-partisan bill. This is giving you an opportunity to let your walk match your talk. And so I would urge members to support this amendment.
The Secretary will take the roll on the A15 amendment. Senator Duckworth, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Barr votes yes.
Senator Barr votes aye.
Senator Coleman votes yes.
Senator Coleman votes aye.
Senator Dames votes yes.
Senator Daines votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes yes.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Lang votes yes.
Senator Lang votes aye.
Senator Liskey votes yes.
Senator Liskey votes aye.
Senator Miller votes yes.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Weber votes yes.
Senator Weber votes aye.
And Senator Jasinski votes yes.
And Senator Jasinski votes aye. Senator Kunesh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Clark votes no.
Senator Clark votes no.
And Senator Latz votes no.
And Senator Latz votes no. All senators having voted, who desires to vote? The Secretary will close the roll. There being 32 ayes and 35 noes, the A15 Matthews Amendment is not adopted. Senator Rarick is not with us. Where's Senator Rarick? Senator Grudenhagen.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I have the A8 amendment.
Senator Grudenhagen offers the A8 amendment. The Secretary will report the A8 amendment.
Senator Gruenhagen moves to amend House File Number 2442, the unofficial engrossment, as follows. Page 12, after line 22, insert. This is the A8 amendment.
Senator Grudenhagen to your A8 amendment.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, this amendment, it's relatively simple. It passed out of the Energy Committee on a bipartisan basis, and it simply lifts the cap on hydroelectricity. The cap is currently at 100 megawatts, and this would lift it of electricity, and this would lift that cap. Now, the other thing about hydroelectricity, it's carbon-free, it's baseload electricity, and it's inexpensive. And I just got done mentioning that 36% of Minnesotans can't pay or are struggling to pay their electricity bill. This would take us in a direction to give some relief in terms of baseload electricity and cost. Again, it was in the original bill that left the Energy Committee that was passed on a bipartisan basis, and yet here it was stripped out for some reason. And those of you who believe in this carbon-free, this is carbon-free electricity and baseload and inexpensive. So give some relief to your constituents, and let's support this carbon-free baseload electricity that gives reasonable rates of electricity costs to our constituents. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Frentz to the A8 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Gruenhagen, for the A8. Thank you also, Senator Gruenhagen. You are a great member of the Energy Committee, and to hear you mention carbon-free twice in one floor speech, I can now die a happy man. However, Senator, I'm going to have to ask for a no vote on the amendment. Again, we have reached certain agreements, and while I do appreciate the comments about the committee, and you do bring a lot to that committee, and I hope we'll keep doing that, I intend to stand by that agreement, and I'll be a no vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other discussion? Senator Heinzman. Correct me on your name.
Senator Heinzman, thank you.
Nice to meet you. Senator Heinzman.
Mr. President, first off, I'd like to thank you and the members of this body for the warm welcome I've received this week and for the offers of support. To the amendment, this is a common sense change, and let's remove the unreasonable regulation. It's a baseload power, and it's carbon-free. So please support the amendment. Thank you.
Senator Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to request a roll call on the amendment.
Roll call requested. Roll call granted.
Mr. President and members, this keeps going back to the theme that I talk about quite frequently in committee, that we are not even utilizing all the tools in the toolbox. Here we have hydroelectricity, which by its definition is clean energy. It is carbon-free. It meets all the criteria that are desired by the proponents of the blackout bill, the 100% law, and it is reliable and always generating energy given the nature of its source, not being an intermittent weather-dependent source like wind and solar is. Yet, for some reason, we again put a limitation in to say that we're only going to count a certain limited amount against the clean energy standard. And so it's deliberately removing tools from the toolbox and making us ill-equipped to do the job of building a clean energy economy that is moving forward. If it is there and it is being utilized, it is definitely something that should be counted. And so I would ask members to eliminate this artificial cap, which is doing nothing except hurting our efforts to reach a clean energy economy, and would urge members to support the amendment.
Any other discussion before I go to the author of the amendment? Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I rise in support of this amendment. We are at a moment in time, members, where we need all hands on deck. If we are serious, and I believe we are, about clean energy, we must embrace this amendment, which would remove the artificial cap that we have put on hydropower. It is, some have talked about, well, maybe it's a fight between wind energy and hydro energy. Well, let me just reiterate. We need all hands on deck. We need to have this artificial cap removed, and we need to access the hydropower that we have. I encourage a yes vote.
Senator Krohn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just find this discussion very interesting, because I haven't heard a single reason to vote no on this amendment. All I heard was we have an agreement, some backroom deal that some agreement's been reached that only some of the members have been involved in. I thought this was a deliberative body. Maybe I'm being old-fashioned. Maybe I'm being naive. I thought we were supposed to be on the floor here debating issues and debating policy. Senator Gruenhagen brings what seems to me an eminently reasonable, bipartisan amendment, and the only thing we have in response is, I'm sorry, we have an agreement. Please vote no. I think this body can do a lot better than that. A lot better than that. And we can debate issues on the merits. That's what we're supposed to do here. That's what we're supposed to be doing. So, I haven't heard a single reason to vote no on this amendment, so I encourage all members to vote yes.
Senator Westrom.
Mr. President, members, I strongly urge a green vote. This should be a unanimous vote in the Senate. There isn't an easier, no-brainer idea that's being proposed that we should all be able to get behind. This is absolutely a no-brainer. Lift the cap on the hydro so we can possibly have bigger hydro or more hydro. Let's just explore the idea of more hydro as we talk about renewable energy. Hydro potentially is the most common sense energy, and certainly it should be a part of our portfolio, but the Democrats want to artificially restrict it. So there's got to be one reasonable Democrat that could see the benefit of lifting the cap of the hydro. If we want to get to 2040 carbon-free, you don't get any more carbon-free than hydro power. This is a ridiculous cap that has been sticking around this legislature for too many decades because some special interest groups out there sit and tell us, oh, we don't want big hydro. Well, it's time to tell those special interest groups, go float down the river, because hydro makes sense. Hydro makes sense, and this vote encourages more hydro exploration rather than the legislature artificially restricting it. I served as the energy chair in the House before I came to the Senate. This was a ridiculous debate capped back then. Let's get rid of this hydro cap. Let's treat hydro the same as any other renewable energy. It's one of the most common sense baseload energies, folks. To anybody watching in the public, that's what you're hearing. This vote is about, do we encourage and allow hydropower as a renewable energy or not? And a no vote means, no, we're not going to accept more hydropower. We're going to just keep it capped at a small amount because then we know we won't have more hydropower. It's time to say no to those special interests. Adopt common sense here in the Senate. Put Minnesotans first. And let's lift this cap on hydropower and stop playing games for special interests here at the Senate if we're serious about encouraging renewable energies that make sense. Folks, Canada has hydropower all over the place, a much more liberal country than we are. They benefit from cheaper power than we do. One of the few things up in Canada that is quite a bit cheaper than what we have here in Minnesota. It's because they have the foresight of taking and harnessing the power of water coming through those mighty rivers. And folks, the genius of it is if you really wanted to, you could catch that same power every mile or two. I'm not saying you will, but that's how bountiful a power we have. This is the one thing Canada has gotten it right on. They have a company up in Manitoba called Manitoba Hydro. They sell power for way less than what we are buying power for here in Minnesota. In fact, Minnesota, we benefit and we actually buy power from Canada. Quite a bit of our power here in Minnesota through Xcel and other companies comes through that hydropower. Let's open up that opportunity if we're serious about expanding renewable energy and finding baseload. And you might think I've been talking too long. I'm passionate about this and talking this long because somebody has to get some common sense here. This is a big deal, a huge deal. We have places all over this state we can harness hydropower. It is a no-brainer. Aside from the special interests that want to protect this provision that they've been lobbying for and gotten into Minnesota statutes some decades ago, all for some special interest. It's time to rip off that cap, say no to special interest, and say yes to renewable power. And if we're serious about it, all renewable power, hydro should be included as well.
We are going to Senator Frentz, and then Senator Weissenberg, and then the last voice that we'll hear is Senator Grutenhagen. If we'll go in that order, but I will recognize you. Senator Frentz, briefly.
Thank you, Mr. President. And to be clear, I support leaving Minnesota's hydro law and its treatment under the 100% bill the same. That was negotiated in 2023, including input from Missouri River. There is no proposed large hydro to be built in Minnesota this time. But, Mr. President, that's not what I wanted to say. Members of the Minority Caucus, just to be clear, I've spoken with Senator Matthews about the deal I made to combine this policy with this budget and shared with him the opportunity to decide to separate it out. My conclusion was to separate it out means we're not going to get any policy and we're not going to get the ratepayer benefits and lower cost of the energy that's in the bill before you today. For that reason, Mr. President, there's no hidden agreement. And at this point, members of the Minority Caucus, if we want to have those types of agreement hold when we say, Senator, this is the deal, we should stick to it. And that's what I plan to do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Weissenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this is great. The mailers write themselves. Democrats vote no on free green energy.
Senator Matthews, I did say we're going to go from him to the author, and you had not at that time raised your hand, but I'm going to bypass what I said, and I hope that you're going to be brief. Senator Matthews, and then we'll go to the author, who is Senator Grutenhagen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just need to clarify. Senator Frentz told me about some of the decisions he was making, but this deal and this agreement in no way reflects an agreement with me about how this bill should be reflected here today. Disagreed with some of the choices that were made with here, but it appears that the agreement was reached with him and his leadership and is not a part of an agreement that I or my caucus is in whatsoever. Just wanted to make sure that was reflected.
Members, I want to make sure that we all agree that we have some rules, and our rules talk about it must speak only to the question under debate. I don't want us to get off track and start going back and forth with each other about whether there's an agreement or not. Let's please stick to the debate, because you can certainly do that. There's no problem with that. Senator Grutenhagen.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, thanks for the good discussion. And I guess I'm disappointed with Senator Frientz's response as far as this is concerned. But just to give you an example of what this cap and the problems it caused, a few years ago, and when we were in the other body, Democrat former Representative Jerry Newton had passed a bill to update the hydro dam, I think in the Coon Rapids area, if I remember right. And they ran into this cap, and they could only partially, I still remember, they could only partially update that. And talking to Jerry that time, he said, well, that's just ridiculous. Why do we have that cap on there? And this is a Democrat. So when you have these artificial caps, they actually prohibit providing inexpensive baseload electricity. So members, think that through. I hope we can pass this with a lot of green votes on a bipartisan basis. And please vote green.
The Secretary will take the roll on the A8 Gruenhagen amendment. Senator Kunesh, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Mr. President, Senator Clark votes no.
Senator Clark votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
And Senator Fateh votes no.
And Senator Fateh votes no. Senator Jasinski, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Barr votes aye.
Senator Barr votes aye.
Senator Coleman votes aye.
Senator Coleman votes aye.
Senator Dames votes aye.
Senator Daines votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Lang votes aye.
Senator Lang votes aye.
Senator Liskey votes aye.
Senator Liskey votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Weber votes aye.
Senator Weber votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
And thank you, Mr. President. Senator Rarick votes aye.
And Senator Rarick votes aye. We have a couple members who are sitting on the floor who has not voted. Will you please vote if you're on the floor? All members having voted, who desires to vote? The Secretary will close the roll. There being 33 ayes and 34 noes, the amendment is not adopted. Members, we now go to Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to offer the A9 amendment.
Senator Farnsworth offers the A9 amendment. The Secretary will report the A9 amendment.
Senator Farnsworth moves to amend House File Number 2442, the unofficial engrossment, as follows. Page 12, after line 25, insert. This is the A9 amendment.
Senator Farnsworth, to your A9 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, the first thing I want to point out about my amendment is that this was taken from a bill that I introduced earlier in session, a bipartisan bill that has 2 members of the majority that signed on. It was also included in the original omnibus that came out of the Energy Committee that was included with a bipartisan vote. So this is a bipartisan idea. And what this does is that it defines wood waste for the creation of energy as carbon-free or carbon neutral. And the reason for that, Mr. President, is when you have the timber industry, when they take the logs, and of course they're not going to burn whole good logs for energy, there's a lot of wood waste that's left over from that. And there's a couple of options that you can do with that. You could leave it in the woods to rot and to emit greenhouse gases. And according to the EPA, just allowing this wood waste to rot offers greenhouse gases that are 25 times more potent than if you burn it. And this was the old EPA. This isn't the EPA under the current administration, in case people are questioning whether that's information that should be accepted. So you could leave it there to rot. It would emit more potent greenhouse gases, specifically methane. They could burn it, not for electricity, and they would just need a burn permit, but that would be wasting it. Or you could use it to generate electricity. You'd have less potent greenhouse gases, and you'd be creating electricity. This is a good bill. It's a bipartisan bill, and I request a roll call and a green vote, Mr. President.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Frentz. Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Farnsworth. You've done an excellent job on this topic. Once again, to the definition, I'll be a no vote on the amendment. Would ask members to vote no on the A9. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too rise in support of the Farnsworth amendment. Members, you've got simple biology here with how the world works. We can choose to either utilize the wood products and the wood waste, and we can clean it off and we can burn it and use it for energy or a useful source, or it can just sit and decompose out in the woods where it will emit off even more carbon than if it is burned and consumed. This is one of the most common sense amendments that we have here that is an actual way to help reduce the carbon that is naturally emitted just by the nature of things and how they go in the world and in our forests and in the environment. The choices you have before you is to put it to a useful purpose where it can be burned and consumed, or it just sits out and decomposes and goes through that process, but that emits even more carbon than the first one. And so I would ask members to join us with this. We asked if there were other alternatives, that the people that were opposed to this policy, if they had any other alternatives for how this could be utilized in a way that reduced the carbon emissions that they themselves are concerned about, and they don't have an answer for that. This is clearly something that is a good policy for the state of Minnesota, helps both sides move in the direction that they are wanting to go, and helps us be responsible management for the use and management of our timber and our forests. Members, please vote green.
Any other discussion? Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I know we have District Energy St. Paul that provides heating and cooling into all the downtown buildings where I live. And I believe when they did the Capitol remodel, they extended it to the Capitol and possibly even the Senate building. So I think it is biomass, and it is an energy source and a good idea to burn up all the emerald tree waste that we have. But I don't quite understand exactly what you're doing. It wouldn't be carbon-free, though, I would think. I mean, it's certainly a renewable energy source, but I don't see why we would put it under the carbon-free category.
Any other discussion before we go to the author of the amendment before we vote? Seeing none, Senator Farnsworth, you get the last word.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, there are so many benefits to doing this. I can't name all of them, but there's a couple more that I want to include, and one is wildfires, Mr. President. We have to do a better job of forest management. If we take this wood waste, limbs and branches and other byproducts of timber harvesting, and use that to create electricity, burn it in a controlled environment, then that will decrease the chance of forest fires, which is a benefit. And another benefit, quite frankly, is an economic benefit to the loggers in all of northern Minnesota, because they're already producing the logs, selling the logs to the mills, and this would just be an extra income stream for the loggers that are already having a hard time making it. So this is a win-win situation. Again, it prevents a much more potent greenhouse gas from being emitted into the atmosphere, and has the byproduct of creating electricity. So I would ask for a green vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Secretary would take the roll on the A9 Farnsworth Amendment. Senator Kunesh, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Mr. President, Senator Clark votes no.
Senator Clark votes no.
And Senator Latz votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
And Senator Fateh votes no.
Senator Fateh votes no. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Barr votes aye.
Senator Barr votes aye.
Senator Coleman votes aye.
Senator Coleman votes aye.
Senator Dames votes aye.
Senator Daines votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Lang votes aye.
Senator Lang votes aye.
Senator Liskey votes aye.
Senator Liskey votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Weber votes aye.
Senator Weber votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
And thank you, Mr. President. Senator Rarick votes aye.
And Senator Rarick votes aye. All members having voted, who desires a vote? The secretary will close the roll. There being 33 ayes and 32 noes, the A9 Farnsworth Amendment is adopted.
Mr. President.
Senator Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay House File 2422 on the table. 2442 on the table. I ask for a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. The secretary will take the roll on the motion to lay the bill on the table. Senator Kunis, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Clark votes aye.
Senator Clark votes aye.
Senator Latz votes aye.
Senator Latz votes aye.
And Senator Fateh votes aye.
And Senator Fateh votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Barr votes no.
Senator Barr votes no.
Senator Coleman votes no.
Senator Coleman votes no.
Senator Dames votes no.
Senator Daines votes no.
Senator Draheim votes no.
Senator Draheim votes no.
Senator Lang votes no.
Senator Lang votes no.
Senator Liskey votes no.
Senator Liskey votes no.
Senator Miller votes no.
Senator Miller votes no.
Senator Weber votes no.
Senator Weber votes no.
Senator Johnson votes no.
Senator Johnson votes no.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Rarick votes no.
And Senator Rarick votes no. All senators having voted who desires a vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 34 ayes and 33 noes, the motion to lay the bill on the table prevails.
Mr. President.
Senator Murphy.
I move a recess to the call of the President.
On that motion, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. The Senate is now in recess.
Mr. President.
Senator Murphy. Division's been requested, so we can't say or do anything else. All right, here we go. Those in favor, please stand. In favor of the motion. Please stand at your desk and no talking, please. If that's everyone, please sit down. Thank you so very much. Now the nays, please stand. The number is 31 for, and 24 against. The Senate is now in recess.
Members will join in caucus immediately.
Mr. President, Republicans.
Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Republicans will be caucusing in 324. Now.
Again, the Senate is now in recess until the call of the President.